Hello there, welcome to Global Business Europe with Paul Barber in London. Our top stories. Social media giant Meta agrees to a multi-billion-dollar settlement after being accused of harming children's mental health. The latest US inflation data lifts speculation an interest rate rise could happen next month. One of China's biggest gaming companies, NetEase, tells us of their dream to go truly global in the world of esports. And Ready Player One, a glimpse of the future of gaming as the industry's biggest convention gets underway in Germany. Well, Meta has agreed to pay almost $17 billion to settle a case accusing the social media giant of harming young people's mental health. The legal action was brought by 29 US states and centred on child safety, the collection of their data, and the deliberate design of addictive features on Facebook and Instagram. Meta denies any wrongdoing, but will need to implement changes for teenage users as part of the settlement. Correspondent Jagruti Dave joins us now from Washington. So, Jagruti, the size of this settlement suggests that Meta had little choice but to agree to it.
Well, Paul, let's put that $16.7 billion figure into context. Meta's 2025 revenue was $201 billion. So in that sense, this figure isn't that huge in terms of when you compare it to their revenue. In a blog post, Meta's citing an $18 billion figure that seems to club together this core agreement on child safety, this settlement, but also a separate case of a $1 billion payment for Texas, which wasn't part of this settlement, and around $459 million of claims related to a separate Cambridge Analytica case. Now, many are calling this social media's big tobacco moment, that 90s landmark litigation against tobacco companies. Notably, that collected more than $200 billion at the time. Back to Meta, it has not accepted responsibility by coming to this agreement. In a blog post, Meta said that the agreement builds on long-standing efforts the company has made to empower parents and support teens, and that they're setting a new industry standard by imposing several improvements on child safety. Examples include a default 2-hour daily time limit that teens can only turn off with a parent's permission, a default block on Meta's apps between midnight and 6 a.m. Just a couple of examples. The significance of this, though, is that Meta wants YouTube and TikTok to do the same. Meta saying that approximately $5 billion of the settlement will be released only after its peers impose a 1-hour daily usage limit, night restrictions, age assurance features, and it's asking them to also pay around $5 billion towards funding youth online state initiatives. It seems that Meta's here making a push for broad social change, and also so that they're not the only ones impacted by this suit. Now, the states filed an agreement this morning, and the judge is expected to approve it.
OK, Jagruti, thank you so much for that. Jagruti Dave in Washington for us. Well, let's dig into this a bit more, get some more analysis on this with Santosh Rao from the venture capitalist firm Manhattan Venture Partners. Santosh, great to have you back with us. Thanks so much. So this is a very big case. And how big a hit is this financially for Meta? And how much of a game changer do you think this is for the American domestic regulation of social media?
Yes, thank you for having me. Financial hit? No, it's very insignificant. It's small, 1.7 billion a year, even if they pay the full amount. It's nothing for a company that makes 200 billion in revenue and all that. So financially, it's nothing. It's more regarding compliance and adhering, the real world adherence to the requirements that they have. So I think that will be the real challenge, how to get it all together, how to standardize all the viewing habits and this and that. I think that's going to take some time. But I think they couldn't have asked for a better settlement. But the main thing is, I don't think the teenage cohort was never really a big part of their whole base. It's less than 1% of their whole base. So I think their real monetization is in other parts of Facebook and Instagram. So it's really not that significant in that sense. So I don't see that. I think it's a good settlement as far as I see it at this point. If it goes through, I'm sure there's some appeals going on. But the bigger thing is it takes some big uncertainty out of the way. So now they have a clear target. There's just one settlement, one legal case going on. So other small ones will always go on. But I think this takes a big hammer out, and so you can focus on forward movement.
And that increase in certainty, Santosh, is that the reason do you think that shares rose, why investors were quite reassured, perhaps?
Absolutely. That certainty is what people were looking, because the potential liability was close to $1 trillion if you believe some of the lawsuits that were going on. So I think this was a good settlement in terms financially doesn't affect. Yes, there are going to be some adjustments that need to be done. The funnel that they have might get a little bit on the edges, might get impacted to pull people in. But teenage crowd had moved out of Facebook already. They moved to Instagram and then to other places. So it's really the big guys, they're in there, the businesses are in there, and that's where they make all the money. So not a big issue. I think they just need to figure out how to comply with the requirements that this lawsuit requires them to do.
What do you think the potential wider implications of this case could be, and could the US end up getting more in line with what we're seeing here in Europe and in Australia and New Zealand, more stringent restrictions for access to social media for young people?
Absolutely. I think that's what's going to happen, and it's good. It's healthy. It's good for everybody, just like the tobacco settlement, like the person mentioned before me. It kind of clears, it's for the broader good. And so companies will adjust around that. If you have a framework, which is what this one will give you, I think you can do a healthy social media platform. And we needed that. So it's good, long time coming, and it's finally here. So I think it'll force others to come in. And the new people who come in, the new companies that come in, have a higher gating factor to comply with everything. So it won't be easy to just start a social media platform. There's going to be some requirements, some standardization, some compliance. So I think it's all good all around. I think it's, I can't knock anything out of this one.
And what about the other big social media companies? What do you think they will take from this?
Well, they need to comply also, right? So Facebook is requiring them to do it. So yes, they will have to come in line as well in the beginning. I think TikTok and all the other guys also will as long as you're in the US, I think you will have to comply with everything here. I think that's good. So overall, in the near term, maybe they will get that incremental new subscriber, but long run, they all have to come into the same line, same platform, same requirements. So I think it'll standardize everything, and it'll be a healthy platform for teenagers and adults and everybody right now. I think that's what we needed.
All right, Santosh, always great to get your insights. Thanks so much, really appreciate it. Santosh Rao from the... is in New York for us now. Good day to you there, Mitch. So Meta's settlement gave its stock a temporary spike in pre-market trading. Do you think it's off the hook now as far as the markets are concerned?
Well, it remains to be seen, I think. Good afternoon, Paul. Look, Meta investors, as you mentioned, are pleased or possibly relieved by this settlement. And I think it goes to what Santosh was just saying about it gives them some degree of certainty moving forward, despite the significant financial cost of the business and the required changes to many of the aspects of how Meta's applications are going to work in the coming months and years ahead. A short time ago, Meta stock was up 1.3% on Wall Street, and looking at the last week, it's now up 5.7%. So yes, this is a positive day in terms of the stock price for the company. Those numbers tell today's story, but there's also a lot more going on here if we look across the year to date. Meta has been facing a number of challenges, not just these social media court cases. In the last 6 months, Meta is down around 12%, and in its latest quarterly earnings, it actually raised its capex forecast to between 130 and 145 billion, up from 125 to 145 billion. And Meta investors, like many of those in the tech space, have been worried about whether the returns on this infrastructure spend will meet or hopefully exceed the high costs. So today, positive result for Meta investors, but over the year to date, it's still down around 12%.
All right, Mitch, the Fed's preferred gauge of inflation has shown that core prices rose 3.3% annually last month. What more can you tell us about that?
Yeah, that's right. This is the PCE, or Personal Consumption Expenditure Price Index. It's a critical number for the Federal Reserve when considering a rate hike, which we possibly could see still by the end of this year. Over the last year, it shows prices have risen by 3.7%. But when we look at the core PCE, that's removing food and energy prices, it's 3.3%, as you mentioned, Paul. So if we look at the monthly change, both the headline and the core PCE are up 0.2%, so not significant movement. But if we examine various sectors a little more closely, personal income rose 0.4%, spending rose 0.2%. On prices, the cost of financial services was up 1.2%, and durable goods was up 0.6%. We also saw some interesting declines as well. Gasoline was down 2.7%, and furnishings and long-lasting household equipment was down 0.9%. So overall, this is a soft result. PCE only increasing 0.2% for the month, as we mentioned. But year over year, this figure, 3.7%, is still well above the 2% goal of the Fed, almost double, actually. So if we look at the CME FedWatch tool, it's predicting at a 61.9% rate that rates will stay the same at the next meeting in September, but they do predict there'll be a rate hike later in the year. But between now and then, there's still a lot of data to come out on both jobs and inflation, so plenty more for the Fed to mull over before they make a decision like that.
OK, Mitch, thanks so much for that. Mitch McCann for us in New York. In other news, oil prices have fallen as concerns of more military action in the Gulf recede. Traders are also hopeful of a deal between Iran and Oman to secure a safe transit route through the Strait of Hormuz. At the same time, Washington's so-called D-Day sanctions on Iran were less severe than expected. German exporter confidence improved to a 4.5-year high this month. Rising demand within the EU helped to boost sentiment, as it points to a recovery taking hold in Europe's biggest economy. The IFO Institute's balance of export expectations rose to 9.6, the highest since February 2022, from minus 2.8 in July. Now, China and Switzerland have concluded negotiations on upgrading the free trade agreement between the two nations, and it's hoped that the changes will benefit a wide range of Swiss exports, from luxury watches to pharmaceuticals. Our correspondent Julia Hamilton reports from Bern.
It's a relationship that stood the test of time. Switzerland was the first country in continental Europe to sign a free trade agreement with China. Now the clocks have moved 12 years forward, and the deal is being strengthened. Swiss-made watches among the goods that will be exempt from tariffs when they are exported to China.
Some sectors, the change is quite big. For instance, the watch products in the existing FTA, the watch products, only 1% of watch products enjoy the duty-free. However, with the new FTA or optimized FTA, it will go to 100%. I mean, all watch products would enjoy the duty-free.
Under the existing deal, about half of Swiss exports are granted duty-free access to China. That will increase to nearly 100% under the new agreement, with pharmaceuticals and machinery among the goods and products to benefit. Services, investment and market access are also covered, giving Swiss companies more opportunities to do business there. China is one of Switzerland's most important trading partners outside the European Union, and the revised deal comes as both sides look to strengthen economic ties.
This change in our agreement entails a great progress and improvement for many of our companies in different sectors. Now, our overall trade is very important, but what strikes me is that in certain sectors, it is of high importance to both countries.
The upgraded deal still needs legal review and domestic approval before it can take effect.
The agreement was finalized here in Bern just a year after Switzerland and China marked 75 years of diplomatic relations. Swiss President Guy Parmelin and Chinese Commerce Minister Wang Wentao announced the conclusion of the talks, with both sides looking to deepen their economic relationship. Julia Hamilton, CGTN, Bern.
OK, keep it here on Global Business Europe. Still ahead, Gamers gear up for the ultimate PlayStation as Europe's biggest video game event opens its doors.
Everything is a business story.
Hello, welcome back to Global Business Europe with Paul Barber. The headlines. Social media giant Meta agrees to a multi-billion-dollar settlement after being accused of harming children's mental health. And the latest US inflation data lifts speculation and interest rate rise could happen next month. While top video games are now on show at one of the industry's biggest events, Gamescom, which opened to the public in Germany today. Developers have unveiled key details and trailers for their biggest games, while giving fans a first look at titles before they're released. Our correspondent Peter Oliver joins us now, live from Cologne. So, Peter, what's been making waves at this year's event?
Hello. Yes, well, today is the first day that the likes of me from the press, also those with VIP tickets, some other special tickets, and business-to-business attendees here at Gamescom can actually get in and see what is really on display. Behind me, yeah, as you would imagine, displays from the great and the good, from the names from the world of computer video games. You've got the likes of Ubisoft, EA Sports, Bandai, but tucked in amongst them behind me, you may also see Level Infinite and Hoyoverse, who are both Chinese companies who've continued a steady increase in the importance of Chinese video games, not only in their domestic market, where it's worth, I think, some $49 billion there or thereabouts, but also in the overseas market, where China is trying to make up ground. What we've seen from those Chinese companies, though, was Hoyoverse's latest offering, that's called Nobus 4, their video game. Well, that got pride of place at the opening ceremony on Tuesday evening here in Cologne. It was video from that particular game that kicked things off. What we've also seen is the likes of Tencent, a gigantic software company, Chinese software company, putting out a display that's some 700 square meters, around the size of 10 tennis courts. Lots of things going on with that as well. But one of the big things that's come out from talking to not only those giant video game developers, but also the small independent ones, is what everybody's looking for is the next big global hit. It sounds incredibly easy. It's incredibly difficult to do. One of the things that becomes very difficult is that, well, of course, if you make a game, you want people to buy that game and be able to buy it all around the world. Now, what that's seen is companies like Solar, which is, they are a global video game commerce company. What they do is they help developers, game developers, find financing, launch the game, and also, crucially, monetize that game. I spoke to their president, Chris Wishaw, who's told me exactly the problems that they can face.
It's a great time for the games industry, where anybody now can bring a game to a global market. But as you pointed out, that creates its own unique set of challenges, not just the ones that people already think of, such as localization and getting content into different markets, but really the challenges that lie underneath, such as ensuring that you have the proper monetization and payment methods that apply to different regions. That is a common pitfall for many developers. Also making sure that you are compliant with local regulations, you have the right customer support to be able to manage your player base in different regions. So these are all sort of the back office or back end things that companies need to think about in order to succeed globally.
Well, we've been talking an awful lot about the business side of the video game world on Wednesday. Understandable when you think it's a global business worth some $200 billion annually. However, on Thursday, it's open to the general public here at Gamescom, so do expect a lot of the cosplay activity to be kicking off. We're going to be following it all here on CGTN. And in fact, I believe I'm booked in for a lightsaber battle with somebody tomorrow as well. So plenty of the more fun elements as the fans get to grips with the latest offerings from the video game world here at Gamescom. That kicks off on Thursday.
Well, we'll be looking forward to that, Peter. I know you're a big gamer, so it'll be lots of fun. Thank you very much. See you tomorrow. Peter Oliver there in Cologne. Now, Gamescom comes hot on the heels of the Esports World Cup in Paris. More than 100 TV and streaming platforms broadcast the event. But esports fans aren't just watching on screens. Often they're flocking to the actual host cities and filling entire arenas. Our correspondent Michael Marilia has more on all of this. Hey, Michael.
Paul, thanks very much. Here's a question. Would you pay to watch someone play video games? Well, millions of people do exactly that every year, and they have money to spend. Let's head to Paris for a moment. The French capital hosted the Esports World Cup in July and August. Officials expected $700 million in economic activity. For example, fans eating in restaurants, staying in hotels, or taking taxis. Now, the World Cup ran for 7 weeks, but even so, that is fairly significant. London also did the math and realized esport is good for business. The city hosted the League of Legends finals in 2024. That event gave it a $16 million boost. And bear in mind, the finals took place over a single weekend. Now, let's take a look at the locations of some of the major esports events over the last 2 years. We're focusing only on those with prize money of $1 million or above. That's 12 countries across 5 continents. Big picture, a wide range of countries see value in these events. But what about people who don't go to the tournaments? Just casual viewers who watch at home. Well, many of them are not spending much, and you see that when you look at the revenue per viewer. Esports generate around $5 per viewer each year. Let's compare that to football. Viewers of the English Premier League spend on average $32 a year, and it's even higher for the NFL, $51 per year. Experts say those leagues have huge marketing budgets, so even casual viewers spend money buying things like team merchandise and TV subscriptions. Esports clearly has somewhere to go, but if it can find a way to build its brand, viewers may spend more, and that could take it to the next level. Now, let's head to Shanghai, which is fast becoming an esports hub in China. The city has just hosted the International, an event built around a game called Dota 2. And it's fair to say fans loved the vibe. Chen Tong reports.
After a fierce 4-day main event battle, Team Spirit from Russia were crowned the champions this year. Dota has a history spanning more than 2 decades, with millions of players worldwide. That enduring global following is one reason the tournament has generated so much attention.
I don't know much about the game, but I can feel all the excitement here. After 7 years, the competition is back to Shanghai, attracting fans from all over the world.
Tickets incredibly sold out within 5 minutes of release on June 10th, and has attracted fans from 73 countries and regions.
For me, it's a dream, and we have a beautiful opportunity to go to China for first one, and the second one, it's international. For me, it's wow, it's something incredible.
I've been playing Dota like for 10 years or more maybe. I'm feeling so excited. Thank you so much, Shanghai, for giving us a possibility to come.
There are also esports KOLs who came to Shanghai for the very first time, who couldn't wait to explore the city.
I want to just watch it, Disneyland, and I want to shopping because this is a Shanghai.
Beyond intense in-game battles, the Shanghai event highlights the integration of esports and urban culture. A special orchestra performance was held in July, along with pop-up installations at Shanghai's major shopping malls.
Many of our players are young people and they want to learn about China and Shanghai. This tournament is a great opportunity to enrich their travel plans. They come to China not only to discover scenic spots, but their favorite competitions too and explore the local culture. This is a new lifestyle for the youth.
Shanghai has been working for years to establish itself as the global esports hub. In the first half of this year, the city hosted about a quarter of offline esports competitions held across China, while its number of esports clubs ranks first nationwide. The Dota 2 tournament is another opportunity for Shanghai to strengthen its position on the global esports stage. Chen Tong, CGTN, Shanghai.
Now, esports also offer lots of exposure for certain games. Our team spoke to Ritin Huang from Chinese firm NetEase Games. He says the events will boost the PvP format. In other words, games where players compete directly against each other.
We already launched the Marvel Rivals globally. This is the PvP games, and it's really rely on the esports economy. So we have already established a global esports systems already. So we encourage the players and teams from different regions to participate in this kind of the physical events you mentioned. That's really important for the PvP gamers and the target audience. At the same time, I think that what we want to do more is that how we can leverage these different regions' esports community and to really make them this globally universe events instead of that we only focus on some specific regions. So I think that's what we are looking for to make this even bigger in the future.
Now you're creating communities. It's not just becoming a technological issue, a technological thing that you're creating. It's becoming a sociological thing as well. How have you seen the development of that type of society and groups and people essentially getting their sense of personal identity from the online experience of your games?
Today, I think the internet and also the platform enable us to do more for the society, for the community. So especially I think the AI is lower down the barrier for players, the users, to generate more content and to share with each other. What we are looking for is to leverage all those technologies to enable our community to be more open and more diverse and to have more harmonious environment vibe for all the players, for the users.
That's Peter Oliver talking to Ritin Huang from NetEase Games. And of course, we'll have more coverage from Gamescom tomorrow. Peter is on the ground in Germany tracking all the action as it happens. Hopefully we'll see him in a Star Wars costume tomorrow.
With a lightsaber. Thank you very much, Michael. Michael Marilia. And a last check on your business headlines. Social media giant Meta agrees to a multi-billion-dollar settlement after being accused of harming children's mental health. And the latest US inflation data lifts speculation and interest rise could happen next month. And that's it for Global Business Europe. Thank you for watching. Up next on CGTN, Africa Live, but we'll see you again tomorrow, same time, same place. From all of the team here in London. Bye-bye.